The U.S. debt ceiling is a legal limit on how much the federal government can borrow to pay its bills. If it is not raised by June 1st, the U.S. could default on its debt for the first time in history, with severe consequences for the economy and the world. But what exactly is the debt ceiling and why does it matter? The debt ceiling was created by Congress in 1917 to give the Treasury Department more flexibility to borrow money without needing approval from lawmakers for each bond issue. It was meant to simplify and streamline the process of financing the government's operations. However, over the years, the debt ceiling has become a source of political conflict and brinkmanship. Whenever the government spends more than it collects in taxes, it runs a budget deficit and adds to the national debt. The debt ceiling sets a cap on how much the government can borrow to cover that gap. The U.S. has been running large budget deficits for decades, especially in times of war, recession, or crisis. The national debt has grown from about $5 trillion in 2000 to over $31 trillion today. That's more than 120% of the U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, which is the total value of goods and services produced in the country. The debt ceiling has been raised or suspended 78 times since 1960, usually with bipartisan support and little fanfare. But in recent years, some lawmakers have used the debt ceiling as a leverage point to demand spending cuts or policy changes from the president or the opposing party. This has created a series of showdowns that have threatened to push the U.S. into default, which means failing to pay its obligations on time. The most notable ones occurred in 2011, 2013, and 2019, when Congress and the White House reached last-minute deals to avoid a potential catastrophe. The current debt ceiling was set at $31.4 trillion in 2021 and was reached on Jan. 19 this year.